S. writes, that most American of operas. At the rousing conclusion of the first act of the 1947 opera The Mother of Us All, the suffragist Susan B. Anthony presides over a wedding. She sings, in Gertrude Stein's surreal words, "They are married, all married, and their children, women as well as men, will have the vote." As the orchestra reaches a climax, with sweeping woodwind flourishes, Anthony iterates, they will have the vote." Such a triumphantly feminist moment is unusual in opera, whose stories more often depict what one critic once called the undoing of women through rape, murder, suicide, disease, madness and loss of identity. But Stein and the composer Virgil Thomson's The Mother of Us All takes as its very subject female empowerment. The final collaboration between two major figures of modernism, the quirky, poignant opera, a fancifully stylized spectacle of 19th-century America, centers on Anthony and the battle for women's rights and social equality. To honor the centenary of female suffrage in New York State, a new production will be staged from November 11 to 19 at the recently renovated Hudson Opera House, now Hudson Hall in Hudson, New York, where Anthony herself lectured. The opera as Anthony crosses paths with dozens of characters, some fictional and some real, Joe the Loiterer and Chris the Citizen, as well as John Quincy Adams, Ulysses S. Grant and Andrew Johnson. Thomson's score is pure Americana, a kaleidoscopic pastiche of 19th-century hymns, ballads and marches that prompted Anthony Tomasini, the New York Times critic who wrote a biography of Thomson, to call it that most American of operas. Questions about gender roles, marriage rights, race relations and class consciousness, one still being asked today, unfold in a droll yet moving pageant of public political gatherings and private discussions. There is great value in experiencing this piece today, R.B. Schlather, the director of the Hudson production, said in a recent interview. Susan B. Anthony is the every citizen. The crisis she goes through in the opera is the choice between sitting at home with your partner and ranting about what you see going on in the world, or getting out there, politicizing your body, and standing up against the injustices that you see. When Thomson first proposed an opera about 19th-century America to Stein, his longtime collaborator, she immersed herself in the era's literature and political speeches, and remarked in a letter that if it comes off it will be a most erudite opera. Still, she hoped to write a work that would be as popular as Carmen, an opera anybody would like, including the farmhands and the elite. An opera about American history was a natural fit for this pair. Although Stein moved permanently to Paris in 1903, she regularly returned to the theme of American identity in her writings. Thomson, rejecting the hyper-complexity of European styles like surrealism that dominated post-World War II composition, frequently drew on the sounds of his Missouri childhood for inspiration. Both were fascinated by American English. Stein's experiments with grammar and syntax proved transformative for Thomson, who had struggled with how to put English to music. His 1926 song setting of a Stein poem represented a compositional breakthrough, and initiated a friendship that led to their first opera, Four Saints and Three Acts, in 1934. Despite, or perhaps because of its nonsensical libretto, non-existent story, eccentric staging and unabashedly accessible music, Four Saints caused a sensation. It cemented Stein's celebrity and transformed Thomson's fledgling career as a composer and music critic. The opera's success led Columbia University to commission a new work in 1945. But shortly after finishing the libretto of The Mother of Us All in spring 1946, Stein died, leaving Thomson and Morris Grosser, who wrote the scenarios for both operas, to complete it before its premiere the following year. The posthumous revisions to Stein's text, the musicologist Monica Hirschberger has written, offer a model for men to support a feminist authorial voice and agenda. Ms. Hirschberger argues that the opera deliberately confronted a post-war climate in which women who had joined the wartime workforce were expected to resume traditional domestic roles. Stein is setting the stage for women to re-engage with a lot of the same questions they deconsidered previously and thought they had addressed, she said in an interview. Thomson's score is almost entirely original, but it sounds deceptively familiar. Music reminiscent of the folk song "The Water is Wide" underscores discussions of marriage, snare drum rolls and vibrant march tunes propel the public debate scenes. The composer described the music as a memory book, a souvenir of all those sounds and kinds of tunes that were.